That is incredible. Can you believe it's already been another year? It's been a whole year since I made this clip here. Now 2018 is over. And 2019 is here. Awesome. Man, we got a lot of nice stuff. Not just in 2018, but in 2017 as well. A bunch of new changes, many of which were good. And interestingly enough, I asked a number of questions asking, what could we get for War Thunder in 2018? And to my surprise, we got a lot. Although I never would have guessed we would get helicopters. That was a nice surprise, definitely. What could we get for 2018 in War Thunder? Yes, we did. We did get Rank 6 Air Forces. Although I would have thought it would have been the A-10 Warthog or the Su-25 Frogfoot. But we got supersonic jets, and Navy CBT, and Italian ground forces. What else did we get? We also got 2 variants of the M1 Abrams, 2 variants of the Leopard 2, the T-72A, T-80B, and T-64B, and much more. That is incredible. And yes, we got Bigfoot 2.0, thank goodness. Now I just want to see the revised 1.0 map. That would be great. Can't help but wonder what we'll get in 2019. We will be right back after these messages. Alrighty. Flying the F-100D over Afghanistan. Nice. It's amazing this thing is still flying with broken horizontal stabilizers. It's my bad. Ooh, what do we have here? A lone F-100D. It's a captured one. Get it. Lock on and... Fox 2. Oh, yeah. I guess he wasn't paying attention, though, because he has the missile lock warning. But hey, I'm not complaining. I shot down a plane with a missile. The future is here, ladies and gentlemen. Duck and cover. Howdy folks, Sabre here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to 2019. Or 2019, depending on how you speak it. Anyway, patch 1.85 has dropped, and we are going to see how the F-100 Super Sabre will perform live, or let me rephrase that, on the live server. Because as you know well, battles on the dev server tend to be very different than on the live server. And that's due to many factors. Number one, it could be because there's simply not enough players on the dev server using those particular vehicles, and thus AI have to take their place. Or because various factors, including flight models and performance characteristics, etc., are subject to change. But the F-100 Super Sabre is not just a fighter, it's also a strike fighter. I don't have the bombs unlocked, and even if I did, I wouldn't really use it for that purpose, or the rockets. I prefer to use it as a fighter. Now, if this was in Tank RB, sure, I would give the bombs and rockets a try. Although, I would have liked it to have more bullpups, but I can understand why it doesn't, because the bullpup is such a heavy missile, and so hence the FJ4B would still, at least for me personally, be practical to use on the battlefield. Although, let me correct myself, they have recently changed the spawn costs. for the FJ4B VMF-232 with the bullpups. They now cost an additional, I believe it's at least 200 more research points, spawn points to spawn in. And to deviate a little, yeah, this was one of my earliest games with the F-100 when I had just unlocked the missiles, and unfortunately, I pulled my nose up too hard and I somehow broke my tail fins, and I was like, great. What do I do? Do I keep flying? Do I try to return to base? What do I do? So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wing it and just keep on flying. And to my surprise, although with a little degraded maneuverability, I was still able to fly this thing. It was crazy. But anyway, the bullpups are now expensive to take out, and I'm trying to get the hang of using the Hydra rockets on the FJ4B VMF-232. And in the future, if I can get around to using it more, trying out the Hydras on the F-100. So we'll just have to wait and see how I go along with those. But anyway, the F-100 Super Sabre, it is the premier jet fighter for, or let me rephrase that, the premier supersonic jet fighter for the US Air Force in game. And I had to admit, I was a little concerned with its slow acceleration compared to, let's say, the MiG-19, for example, but played right, this jet actually does pretty good. And for a little while, when I was making this video, the American teams were doing really good. But, like anything, eventually, as the meta constantly changes with War Thunder, stuff has to change. And for the time being, the Russians are actually having the good meta right now. But for a good long while, the Americans were having really good win rates. And my best win rate was 8 wins in a row. And 7 wins in a row. And ironically, on the very last day of 2018, when I was playing out some battles in the F-100, I got my worst loss ratio for jet battles. Oh my goodness. 9 losses in a row. But ironically, one of them turned out to be one of my best in the F-100. I destroyed 4 aircraft. I almost got the 5th one, but a random F-86 Sabre, because bear in mind, this is at rank 6, because, I don't know, I guess for the time being, you see a lot of mixed battles for a rank 6 jet play. So, this was obviously an enemy F-86 Sabre. He shot me down moments before I could get the enemy MiG-19. Yeah, it feels bad, man. But the last battle, which you will soon see, which is the last battle highlighted in this video, was actually, essentially, my last victory for 2018. So, I'm grateful for that. So, yeah. But I think the F-100 is a great plane. It's just that, you know, meta changes, and oftentimes it's not really the plane, but, you know, the players and being in the right place at the right time, that sort of thing. But we'll go ahead and move on to another subject now, and that is, now that we have the supersonic jets for War Thunder, what's next? I kind of touched a little bit on my last video featuring the F-100 and the MiG-19, talking about some vehicles we might receive for the other trees, but now I'm asking the question, how are they going to perform? Because, like, War Thunder has done something similar with the rank 6 tanks. When rank 6 tanks were added, it was only some very early MBTs, like for example the MBT and KPZ-70 prototypes and the T-64A. Now, those could be killed by some contemporary rank 5 tanks. In particular, the T-64 even could, as long as you didn't aim for the turret. Now, you could aim for the upper front plate below the driver port on the T-64 or the lower plate. My favorite victory over a T-64A back when rank 6 tanks were added, I was actually grinding the T-64A with my T-10M, and I saw a T-64. I was like, because when new vehicles are added, sometimes you're like, where do I aim on this? And this is back before they had, well, they did have the armor viewer, it just wasn't in depth for composite armor tanks like it is now. So I was like, where do I aim on this guy? So I just took a panic shot to his lower plate, and it actually worked. That 122mm APCBC round was able to make quick work of that T-64. But anyway, as time went on, they added some more MBTs, and then they started getting a little more advanced with the Leopard 2K, the M1 Abrams, the T-64B, and so on. Now, it's a more interesting story for the jets, because at least with tanks, you can still flank them from the sides or get trap shots. Like, yeah, I'm not going to go into that. That's deviating a little too much there. But anyway, with the rank 6 jets, because at least like the F-100 Super Sabre and the MiG-19, although they can go supersonic, they're less maneuverable. And therefore, if you get into a dogfight with a supersonic jet using a subsonic jet, you're going to have a good time. Because if you can get them to slow down enough, you're going to be able to catch them off guard and easily shoot them down. But there's another disadvantage that some of these supersonic jets have, and that is fuel. Because, at least with the F-100, you can take almost an hour of fuel, but it's a gas guzzler if you use the afterburner for a prolonged period of time. So there is that. But the primary question is speed. Because with the MiG-19 and F-100, they generally go no faster than 750 miles per hour in a straight line. Now, I will be honest, I'm not really familiar with post-Korea War jets, so I'm not sure if they can, you know, like, let's say the F-4 Phantom or the MiG-21 can do, like, more than 700 miles an hour on the deck, if they could go, like, 1,000 miles an hour. I don't know. But what I do know is that the F-100 and the MiG-19, their successors, the F-105 Thunder Chief and the MiG-21 respectively, these can go Mach 2. Almost twice as fast as even the F-100 and the MiG-19. So what makes me curious is, how are they going to balance that? Now, I've already observed in some of my comments, which thank you for providing the feedback, about what jets the other nations could get, like Germany could get the Alpha jet, Italy could get, I believe, is it the F1 or the P1? I can't remember. And then Italy could get the G91R, and then of course France can get their own F-100 Super Sabre or one of the Mirage jet fighters. So we'll just have to wait and see where it goes from there. The next thing I want to talk about is, what could we expect for War Thunder in 2019? Now, these are just guesses and rough predictions. I honestly don't know what we could get entirely for 2019. I mean, because, like, when I made my predictions in 2018, they were just rough guesses. Like, I never would have guessed we would get helicopters, for example, in War Thunder, because the way I looked at it was like, World War II helicopters weren't really used for combat. They were for reconnaissance and rescue. And even then, they were slow, much slower than the helicopters we have in game. They didn't really carry any sufficient armament. How would that work? But then War Thunder implemented the system where you could get, if you had a rank 5 jet or rank 5 jet or a rank 5 tank in that particular nation, then you could unlock the helicopters. Now, one nice change they did do with the helicopters was that they finally, thank goodness, got rid of the broken arcade and realistic battle mode for the helicopters, because let's be honest, that's mode needed a lot more work, and at the time when it was added, it seemed great because you wouldn't get wrecked by aircraft or tanks in Tank RB, but it had its shortcomings, especially when air-to-air missiles were added for the helicopters. Like, There was one occasion I was in my Mi-24D, and 30 seconds after I spawn, I get shot down by a Zulu. Feels bad, man. But in its place, they added helicopter enduring confrontation. Now, it too could use a little more work, but at least you have a chance to fight ground units, destroy some bases, or even attack other helicopters. Now, I would like to see how they can balance, like, you know, the German helicopters and the early, slower helicopters, because at the moment, I am having a field day with my Mi-24D because I can literally outpace all of the other helicopters in overall top speed, with exception to other Mi-24s. But all in all, the helicopter EC mode is great, and I'll definitely make a video on that in the future. And I believe you might have saw that earlier, when I fired the missile at that F-35, because there was a teammate there, I noticed it deviated straight towards the ground. And I guess that was like a safety measure, which I have to admit was really cool, because I was worried, oh no, I'm going to shoot my teammate, like that poor guy did when he shot down Fly in their MiG-19s. When I saw that happen, I was like, oh my goodness, that is actually a thing. You have to be careful not to team kill your friends with missiles. But anyway, let's go back to predictions of what I am predicting for 2019. Now, I may be right or I may be wrong, but we'll just have to wait and see. When could we get submarines? And the question is, what kind of submarines? Because in my honest opinion, and I've seen this discussed in some developer Q&As, as much as I would like World War II submarines like Das Boot, the U-boats, and the Japanese, oh my gosh, I forget the designation, I'll put it on the screen. You know, that tiny submarine that only housed 2 men, or a few men, and had like 2 torpedoes? Yeah, that thing. As cool as those would be, I guess that would probably be a bit slow for gameplay, even by War Thunder standards. Because sure, you have the issue with like oxygen and fuel, or not fuel, but having slow speed underwater compared to being above water. And then planes could drop depth charges, and assuming they're added in the future, not depth charges, they're like sonars. You know, dropping sonar sticks into the water to listen for those submarines. How would that work out? Or would we get something similar to what we got in April Fools of 2018, which was the nuclear submarines? Could we get those? And how would that play out with the meta and balance? That, in my opinion, would be really fun. Although, it would be good for submarine versus submarine combat, but I don't know how ship captains on the surface would feel playing in their World War II Fletcher or Haida destroyers, and then all of a sudden seeing a nuclear, or not a nuclear, but a guided torpedo coming from a Russian Typhoon nuclear submarine. That probably wouldn't be a lot of fun. And then my other question is, what other supersonic jets could we get? Assuming they can work out the kinks of the balance issues. I'm definitely putting my bets on the MiG-21 and the F-4 Phantom. They have to come, because like those are the 2 arch rival jet fighters of the Vietnam War. Oh yes, and I definitely please would love to see I would love to see this Vietnam decals, like North and South Vietnamese decals, because we recently had a Vietnam custom battle with Fly, in which we had a custom user mission that took place in Vietnam, and I was so disappointed that I could not find any Vietnamese decals that I could put on my tank. The best I could do was apply some numbers, but that was it. I thought maybe I could take that orange circle in the common decal section and then use the gold star from the US tanks, but unfortunately I think the decal system is a little too picky. I mean, for SB I can understand, but for Arcade and RB, come on. I mean, simply because it's technically an American decal, the system's like, "Niet comrade, we cannot let you use capitalist symbol on great communist tank." That is unspeakable. And I'm thinking, but I'm just trying to make a North Vietnamese decal. Makeshift, but North Vietnamese. But anyway, hopefully in the future they'll fix that, because it is a little bit annoying. But all in all, it would be interesting to see what other supersonic jets we could get in the future. And I'm especially interested in seeing, like, you know, more modern variants of some jets we have in game right now, like the MiG-17F with an afterburner, the F-86H, or Haug Sabre with air-to-air missiles, or the Hawker Hunter F-6, which, correct me if I'm wrong, also had air-to-air missiles. And I'm honestly curious if those jets would be even more OP than the supersonic jets in terms of, you know, missile armament. Because here, sure, they're not as fast as the supersonic jets, but if you take a fast and maneuverable subsonic jet and strap missiles on it, that would probably give a supersonic jets a run for its money, at least until even faster supersonic jets are added. So it'll be interesting to see what we could expect in the future. And then last, but certainly not least, what about EC for tanks? And I've mentioned it before, I know, but like, come on, we have EC for aircraft, EC for helicopters, we just got that, and if I recall correctly, they're working on EC for ships, naval forces, and I'm thinking to myself, what about tanks? And I know there could be some many issues that would need to be kinked out, or kinks that need to be worked out for EC for tanks, but like I've said before, start small. Make it for rank 1, rank 2, maybe rank 3 tanks, and then see where it goes from there. That sort of thing. You don't need to jump to rank 6 straight away. So, let me know in the comments below what you are interested to see for War Thunder in 2019. Because for the time being, this is all I can think of. Submarines, whether if it's supersonic, oh my goodness. Whether if it's nuclear or World War II era, we'll have to wait and see about that. Some additional rank 6 aircraft, be it supersonic or the ground attack planes like the Warthog or the Frogfoot, you know, the A-10 and Su-25 respectively, or hopefully EC for tanks. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes for the development of War Thunder. But all in all, I am really excited to see what we could get in the future. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Sorry about that, guys. My cat knocked over my gym bag. Oh, that silly girl. But yeah. I'm like trying to speak like with my intro, and I look over the corner of my eye and I see her just pushing that thing off the table. I'm like, no! But it's all good. Anyway, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you are enjoying the video so far. I am definitely excited to see the development of War Thunder through 2019, and I will definitely update you with the most interesting information that I will see in the War Thunder news. But anyway, that is it for today. Have a great day. Stay safe. Peace out.